When President Obama presented him with the Medal of Honor, he started with 3 words: "This man should not be alive." Medics coded him PEA, meaning patient expired on arrival. His heart flatlined 3 times. His face was torn into 4 separate flaps. His right arm was shattered in 34 places. Shrapnel was embedded in his brain. He was 20 years old. But to understand how a kid from South Carolina ended up shielding a fellow Marine from an enemy grenade with his own body, we need to go back to the beginning. William Kyle Carpenter grew up in Gilbert, South Carolina, a town so small it doesn't have a traffic light. Born October 17th, 1989, he was the kind of kid who played football, went to church, and did what his parents asked. Nothing about his early life suggested he would one day become the youngest living Medal of Honor recipient. But then came a church mission trip to the Dominican Republic. Carpenter saw poverty he had never imagined. Kids without shoes, families without clean water, and something shifted inside him. He came home and walked into a Marine recruiter's office. When his mother asked why, he said something she would never forget. He said it simply: "If I don't do this, it will be someone else's son." In February 2009, at age 19, Carpenter enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. He shipped off to Parris Island, South Carolina, where drill instructors broke down the small-town kid and rebuilt him as a rifleman. He was assigned to Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines. In July 2010, his unit deployed to Helmand Province, Afghanistan. This was the height of the surge, the deadliest period of the entire war. Their destination was Marjah, the Taliban stronghold, a place so dangerous that Marines called it the Heart of Darkness. Carpenter's squad was stationed at Patrol Base Dakota, a small compound surrounded by farmland that was riddled with improvised explosive devices and Taliban fighters. By November, they had been there for months. And the night before everything changed, local informants warned them the Taliban was coming. November 21st, 2010. Approximately 10 in the morning. Lance Corporal Kyle Carpenter and Lance Corporal Nick Eufrazio were assigned to a rooftop security position at Patrol Base Dakota. They had built a small sandbagged bunker up there, just big enough for 2 Marines to watch for enemy movement. Carpenter was 20. Eufrazio was 21. 2 kids from different worlds, both doing the same job: watching, waiting, protecting their brothers below. Then the attack started. Taliban fighters opened fire from multiple positions. Grenades started coming in. The first one hit an Afghan National Army soldier in a different position. The second grenade was a dud. The third grenade landed directly in their sandbagged position. A grenade has a fuse of about 4 seconds. In that moment, there is no time to think, no time to calculate. You either act on instinct or you freeze. Kyle Carpenter moved toward the grenade. He positioned his body between the explosive and Nick Eufrazio. He became a human shield. The blast tore through the rooftop, punched a cone-shaped hole straight through to the command center below, and shattered both Marines. Carpenter regained consciousness briefly after the blast. He would later describe the sensation of warm water pouring down his face. It wasn't water, it was blood. When he arrived at the field hospital, doctors coded him PEA, which means patient expired on arrival. His heart stopped 3 times during treatment. The damage was catastrophic. His right eye was destroyed. His jaw was gone. His face had been torn into 4 separate flaps. His right arm was broken in 34 places. Shrapnel was lodged in his brain. His skull was fractured. His lungs had collapsed. He was placed in a medically induced coma. For 5 weeks, his family waited, not knowing if he would ever wake up. Over the next 2.5 years, Kyle Carpenter would undergo nearly 40 surgeries at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. Doctors rebuilt his jaw with bone from his hip. They reconstructed his shattered arm with metal plates and screws. They gave him a prosthetic eye. But the physical reconstruction was only half the battle. One night, Carpenter found himself sitting alone in his mother's kitchen in the dark, struggling to eat a bowl of cereal because his reconstructed jaw barely worked. He sat there thinking about everything he had lost: his face, his military career, the life he had planned. He would later describe this as the moment that defined his recovery. He realized he had 2 choices. I could spend my life sitting at that counter, or I could get up and live. He got up. On July 30th, 2013, Carpenter was medically retired from the Marine Corps as a corporal. But his story was far from over. On June 19th, 2014, Kyle Carpenter stood in the East Room of the White House. President Obama placed the Medal of Honor around his neck. At 24 years old, he became the youngest living recipient of the nation's highest military honor. He was only the 8th living recipient for actions in Iraq or Afghanistan. After the Medal of Honor, Carpenter did not retreat from public life. He ran toward it. He enrolled at the University of South Carolina and graduated in December 2017. He wrote a best-selling book called You Are Worth It. He became a motivational speaker, sharing his story with audiences around the world. And Nick Eufrazio, the Marine he shielded, he survived. He suffered a severe traumatic brain injury, damage to his frontal lobe, and doctors initially said he would never speak again. But he proved them wrong. He regained his speech. In 2021, he completed the Boston Marathon. In January 2025, the Navy announced that a new R. Lee Burke-class destroyer would be named USS Kyle Carpenter. His name will sail the world's oceans long after he is gone. When people ask about his scars, Carpenter does not hide from the question. He smiles and says the girls definitely like them. He was a 20-year-old kid from a town without a traffic light. He made a choice in less than 4 seconds that should have killed him. It did not. And that is the point.